Week 5 lecture, Drafting Effective Introductory Paragraphs. Introduction. Have you ever heard the phrase that you only get one chance to make a first impression? This is true when you are introducing yourself at a job interview, meeting someone for the first time, and even in writing as well. Have you ever begun to read a book or a magazine and you put it down and stopped reading because the writer didn't grab your attention? Your introduction is your first impression. You want to grab your reader's attention and make them want to read your essay. How do you do that? We will be discussing the strategies to create effective and attention-getting introductions this week. Organization strategy. Now that your pre-writing notes include your own original ideas about each topic and some evidence that you located in your information searches, let's start drafting. Getting ready to organize your notes and begin the writing does not mean you have to stop looking for evidence and thinking of things to say, but this is when you get serious about deciding how to present your ideas. Once you have a collection of pre-writing ideas, you are ready to think about organizing them. This is the beginning of your presentation strategy. Rather than just start writing, you need to consider your strategy, and there are plenty of decisions to make. Do you want to set up the pieces of evidence you collected as the most emphatic points and weave them together with your own opinions and commentary in between? Or do you want your opinions and commentary to stand out so the evidence plays a supporting role? Do you want the most important detail at the beginning or save it for the end? Do you need to follow chronological order? Do you want to build a picture of what you are saying from the big picture and work down to the details like a camera zooming in? Or do you want to start from the details to build up to the big picture like a camera zooming out? Still working with your disconnected pre-writing notes, you may want to number the ideas in the order you want to present them, or in groups according to which ideas belong together. Consider experimenting. Just as different types of topics inspire different styles of notes, different types of notes may inspire different types of organization. It is worth saying again, you are in charge of your own process. There is no right or wrong approach as long as you are engaged in the process with satisfying results. Those strategies, probably several, that lead to your writing success make up the right approach for you. Paragraph structure. Past teachers have told you that a paragraph is organized around a central idea, which is presented in a topic sentence, usually your first introductory sentence, but this is not necessarily the case. Sometimes you may want to build suspense and save the topic sentence for the last. Since this course focuses on paragraphs and essays, you will have plenty of opportunities to practice placing topic sentences within a paragraph, but be aware that it is usually expected at the beginning of a paragraph and you are always safe putting it there. Your text gives you examples of several ways to open a paragraph: your thesis, an anecdote, some background, a question, a short description, an example, or a definition. Think of when you read. Don't you enjoy a first sentence that grabs your attention and creates curiosity so you want to keep reading? This is what you want to do when you write. There are also examples of effective ways to close an essay, which you can adapt to a closing paragraph. Paragraphs are deemed effective based on three major criteria. Unity. That each sentence relates to the main idea of the paragraph, so no sentences are off point. Suppose in an essay about homeless people, you start a paragraph about causes for becoming homeless. This is not the place to put in an opinion or piece of evidence about the kinds of shelter they find. That would likely go into a separate paragraph. If you didn't have enough to say about types of shelter to make a separate paragraph about them, then you have to decide if you need more information or want to drop that out of your essay. Either way, you don't want to stick a random sentence in an otherwise unified paragraph where all the ideas fit well together. Support. That each sentence provides evidence that you have enough evidence so your paragraph can stand up to someone who might disagree with your main idea. We'll expand on this next week. Coherence. That the sequence of your sentences is logical. There is usually more than one organization of your ideas that can be logical. You just need to ensure that you make clear which type of organization you are using. If you're zooming out, start from the details to build up to the big picture. Make sure that you discuss specifics and save the general conclusion for the end of the paragraph. If you're relaying events that occurred in chronological order, keep the sequence clear so you don't confuse your reader. There are several ways to organize your ideas, and your text has examples for you. Unity and support pertain primarily to the content of your writing. What are you saying? Coherence pertains to the organization of your writing. How are you presenting what you are saying? At this point, you want to keep both the what and the how in mind so you will be able to present your ideas in a clear and focused manner. Week 6 lecture, Drafting Effective Supporting Paragraphs, Keeping Things Connected. Last week we asked you to think about strategies for organizing your topic support. This week we tackle that head-on. Your text asks you to determine how many supporting paragraphs to use, meaning the main points or reasons or arguments that support the position of your thesis. Each major idea requires a separate paragraph which has its own details that explain it. For example, if your thesis is that online education is more convenient for people, then you've probably found information from research that helps you discuss convenience in terms of time and location. Or if you're arguing that people are increasingly interested in alternative education, you may have found categories of information about homeschool, prep schools, and charter schools. How much do you have to say? Knowing that a paragraph is usually 5 to 7 sentences, how can you divide the information you have into portions of 5 to 7 sentences? If you do not have 2 to 3 separate paragraphs, then you either have too narrow a topic or have not sufficiently thought and researched your topic. If you feel you just have one big argument, is there a way to divide it into aspects? If something is having an influence on people, is the influence different for children than adults? Does the influence happen in stages, like beginning, middle, and advanced? What is different in the past than it is today, and can you predict how it might be in the future? If you seem to have many small arguments, is there a way to combine them? For example, if you are looking at many reasons that parents are dissatisfied with education today, do they fall into categories of elementary and high school, or social development versus academic rigor? Like the summary this week states, you don't want a bathtub in the kitchen, or a stove in the living room, if there are several arguments or pieces of evidence that do not fit into 5 to 7 sentence groups. You need to either come up with an idea to group them together or consider eliminating them. Keep similar ideas together. Coherence. What paragraph order do you want? This is why you started planning last week for the kind of coherence you want to create. General to specific, specific to general, emphatic, spatial, chronological. Other patterns of development are definition and examples, cause and effect, comparison and contrast, problem and solution. Sometimes you play the ideas over so much that they become jumbled together. This is why it is a good idea to set your draft aside for a few hours or even a couple days. Or you might want to read your draft to a friend to get a fresh perspective on how much sense it makes to someone hearing it for the first time. As you read the various essays in your text, notice how the sentences that introduce each paragraph provide a focus for the details you will read there. Within each paragraph, connections between ideas also clarify how the writer sees relationships. They may emphasize how things are similar or different, occur in certain order, provide examples, or ask you to look backward or forward in time. Carefully review the sections on transitions in this week's text reading and in the LAC Writing Guide in My Toolkit. Transitions are words and phrases you take for granted when you read that connect ideas within a paragraph and connect one paragraph with another. They are an important element for successful writing, so it is a good idea to start using them as a regular part of your writing process. Also consider reviewing the additional resources on using transitions in the writing guide. Finally, this week you put your paraphrasing and citation skills into practice. Review the LAC Style Guide, pages 6 to 9.